Would you, could you?
Would you, could you believe it now? A podcast about strange journeys, hidden truths, and wild beliefs. With Sammy
And Rob.
and Jack's here, right on schedule.
Right on cue.
Yeah, he will be joining us again. This is what he does. What do you have to say, Jack? Wow. He's really adding value to this podcast.
He is. Keep going.
Couldn't do it without him. Okay, so on this episode of Would You or Could You Believe It Now, portals and psionics. We're going to go into what is a portal, where did that come from, what does it have to do with psionics, what is psionics, this fun new term, and yeah, at the end we'll
Can you say portals and then I'll say psionics? I just want to be involved.
We are talking about portals and
Psionics.
you happy now? Feel nice and involved?
I feel better.
Okay, he feels better. That's all that matters. So in this episode, we went out and looked at some petroglyphs.
AKA pictographs.
But what are we not going to call it?
Art.
Yes. Why is that? Do you remember?
Because it's not art.
Okay. You want to give some explanation?
Do you want me to elaborate? I can elaborate for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just here to give different answers. So the other answer is that these ancient drawings are meant for something else other than just simply putting stuff down on rocks to look at.
Okay.
They are portraying a message.
That's better. Communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that's good. Petroglyphs are often referred to as rock art, and a lot of the signs at the site that we went to, Land Hill Heritage Site, refers to the petroglyphs as rock art. And what I've been learning from reading up on the indigenous beliefs and cultures around those petroglyphs in particular, but also really all petroglyphs, is it's not art. And the way we think of art in our modern Western society is pretty reductionist and kind of belittling, actually, to what the indigenous cultures say the petroglyphs are actually about. So we're not going to refer to it as that because that's offensive. The comparison, I guess I have, the equivalent would be like if an alien race came to Earth and came into our modern neighborhoods and took a look around and were like, wow, look at all those really pretty red octagons you guys have. That's so cute. You know your shapes and your colors. Those are pretty. And then we were like, no, man, that's signs. It's telling us how to operate in our society, you know, so we don't crash into each other. And then they were like, no, those are pictures. Those are pretty pictures. Good job knowing your shapes. Like, that's like the equivalent to calling it art. And like in the ways that we define art, I guess, as just, it looks nice on the wall. But actually, no, there's a lot more going on there. So where do you stand right now when it comes to portals? I guess we'll talk about portals first. What do you think they are? I know you have heard some of the research I've done already, but if you could go into what you have known about them, what you feel about them, go.
So as someone who is, I would say, not an expert on the topic of portals or psionics, whenever I think portal, I think like a black hole, something where you just, travel into something and you end up somewhere on the other side is what I think when I hear portal. So I think black hole instantly. Do I think there's portals here? Is that the question?
It's just what you think about them in general.
What do I think about them? Again, haven't seen one, but also haven't seen a black hole, and they say they're like, do they say they're invisible? I feel like they're invisible. Or they kind of like blend in.
They don't emit light.
Okay, yeah.
The only thing you can see is the event horizon, which we do have an image of finally, but it took a long time.
So that's what I think of. So when I think portal, I think black hole, but like portal, like around here maybe, because people are like, oh, Sedona's a portal, or like, oh, Skinwalker
Or
Ranch is a
vortex.
portal, or whatever. I think of that, but I don't know where the other side is. I don't know where the entrance is. So I guess portal wise, it is believable for me, more believable than not already. I know we're just starting out the podcast here, but more believable than not because of black holes, I would say.
Jack believes in them.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah, very much.
But and then psionics, you were talking about. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that was. I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't even know how to say it,
It's
honestly.
a new term to the public, but it's been used in parapsychology, which, if you don't know what that is, parapsychology is the study of paranormal events, usually having to do with the brain, right? So that's going to be psychic stuff, medium-based stuff, telepathy, any paranormal event that occurs in someone's brain or psyche. So psionics is a term that's been used in the study of parapsychology to study psychic phenomenon. And they call it psionic. And let me see. I bet there's an official definition.
Okay, so yeah, let's get the definition because I don't know what this is, and I feel like the terms always get changed up.
Well, it's been popularized by Jake Barber and Ross Coulthart in the interview that they did, and now Jake Barber is doing Skywatcher, where him and his team, he was working in crash retrieval. So he was a helicopter pilot, and he was working undercover for a long time, and his cover story was that he was a mechanic, like an airplane mechanic, I believe.
Yeah, like he just fixed the helicopter.
Yeah, but then he was a pilot for I don't know, many years, like undercover, and he worked on crash retrieval. So it was his job to take the helicopter out and pick up a crashed whatever. So it could have been a military craft that they were testing and it crashed, or it could have been maybe I don't know, like an adversary craft that came over and got shot down, whatever. But then there's been the UAP, we don't really have a category for it, that he also claims to have gone and picked up and had some strange encounters with. So that's what that Ross Coulthart interview was about, which I'm not going to go that in depth about that today, but if you want to watch it, go watch it. It is interesting. But stay neutral, as always. Don't believe it. Don't not believe it. Just hold in the liminal space of, I don't know. Okay. Did you like that? Was that funny?
Can you say that again? I didn't hear it.
Oh.
She's from Maine, northern Maine.
Not northern Maine, southern Maine. No one's from northern Maine. Moose are from northern Maine. I was born
That's how they say
born
it.
in Farmington.
Pet Cemetery.
Don't
That's
even
how she talks.
don't try to mimic a Maine accent.
Okay.
You cannot do it. I can't do it, and I did live there for.
You gotta have
several
like
years of
a
my
half
life.
a gallon of maple syrup in your mouth and then start talking. That's how you do it.
That was actually a pretty fair depiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. It's true. Okay. So yeah, psionic. It's been popularized by Jake Barber, and he's been using it to refer to a team of psychics that they are using to call in or summon, but a lot of people don't like that term, UAP and UFOs. But the official definition of psionic, according to Google, definitions from Oxford Languages, is relating to or denoting the practical use of psychic powers or paranormal phenomenon. Psionic communication. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I said.
So, can you go back to that for a second?
I just X'd out of the tab.
Excellent. Control.
No, just what's your question? I know it.
You know it already. So, if you see a ghost, right, in your house, that's psionic?
No, that would be part of
paranormal, though.
Relating to psychic phenomenon. So that's why parapsychology, it's going to be more related to, I mean, it could be part of a psionic experience if part of your psychic ability is seeing ghosts. But there's a lot of people who have claimed to see ghosts who would not also call themselves a psychic. But there are plenty that do say, yeah, no, I'm a psychic, and part of that is seeing ghosts. So it kind of depends. It could, but not.
But
exclusively.
if you like go to a psychic and they're like, oh yeah, your dad's talking to me right now, that is a psionic event.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a psychic medium.
Coming up with new names for everything.
It's a general term. It doesn't really pinpoint it. Part of that, I mean, there are more pinpointed terms. It's just, this is the buzzword right now. So this is why we're talking about it.
We're all about that.
Yeah. But the buzzword, just because this is something, if you're looking into this, you're going to hear this and you're not going to understand what it is. So to give you some context, but also to kind of demystify the word a little bit, because it means psychic. It means psychic. The reason they're changing it, though, is because psychic is such a loaded term in our society that usually if you're coming from a materialistic viewpoint and you hear psychic, you think, oh, that's... And you just check out and you just stop listening.
Why do these words keep changing all of a sudden?
Because of the stigma attached to the other words.
So if we just kept using like psychic and UFO, you think we'd get anywhere?
It depends. So think about it. If we're going to explain this topic to someone that we know is not into this, they're very like a traditionalist, materialistic mindset, right? And you say, oh yeah, they use psychics to summon UFOs. Are they going to keep listening? Imagine the most skeptical person you know. What are they going to say when you say that?
They'd be like, shut up.
Right. Okay.
But it would
now,
be better than saying...
Now, say they've never heard this term and they say, oh yeah, the military is using psionic assets to call in or to attract aerial phenomenon for purposes of research.
Sounds a little bit sciencey.
Right?
Sounds a little scientific.
You're going to listen to that, aren't you? It's the stigma. And UFO just means unidentified flying object.
Right. Could be a frisbee at night.
Right, but people have associated it to a silver disc with green aliens hanging out. So that's why they shifted it to UAP. It has more to do with allowing the population to be open
clean
to
slate.
What's kind of, a clean slate. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know of any movies that involve psionics or psionic assets.
You do, they just don't call them that.
Right.
It's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing. So if you have an issue with the word psychic but not with psionic, that's in here. Therapy. Go to therapy.
So how do we tie this back to portals?
Well, the idea is coming back to, where do UFOs, UAP, whatever you want to call them, where do they come from?
We don't really know. I mean, we thought space.
Right. Well, this is the question. So this is why these two things are connected. Portals and psionics, right? Or portals and psychics. This is what this topic is covering, is really, where do UAP, UFOs come from?
I mean...
So there's a belief that they can come through portals, and that's kind of an ancient belief. It's based off the ancient indigenous idea of a portal, based on the research I've done. A lot of people have certain ideas of portals, but I like the way you describe it. That's the way I thought about it too, is that, oh yeah, it's like a doorway, it's a passage.
But like, where would that be? I mean, again, not a professional here, but...
I don't think anyone is a professional on portals.
Do not ask me for financial or legal advice.
Relating
to portals. I'm not a certified portal.
Not accredited.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So here's where I get all messed up, and then my brain stops. People are like, there's portals in, what do we say, to Sedona, right? Sedona, or like, middle of the desert, Skinwalker Ranch. But then, because they're just trying to figure out where aliens come from, right? Because they're like, oh, there's like an energy, it like feels different.
I mean, it's a much bigger, broader thing
but
happening that varies person to
person.
Where
would aliens come from? I mean, my initial thought after like...
Okay, I shouldn't say where they come from, but how they're getting to Earth. Like it's more of like the mode of transportation. It's like, how did the spider get into my house? Did it come through the front door? Did it come through the window? Did it get through this tiny little crack?
I mean, that's kind of a weird question to ask, because you're assuming things when you ask that question.
Sure, maybe the spider was always in the house.
Maybe the spider was always in the house. Maybe the spider was, has a nest in your closet or something, or it's in the attic and you never went in the attic.
Today, we are specifically talking about this one entry point. So it's like we're talking about spiders that did come through your window or your door. And where are these? Like, it's an opening. So we're talking about spiders in particular that have to come through an opening, that they were outside and now they're coming into our space. How did they get there? Right? There's an opening somewhere.
Well,
where? Let's find them.
There's
like that concept.
There's that Nimitz video of like the pill Tic Tac thing going.
I don't know which one it is.
Yeah,
there's a Nimitz
2017 one, right?
But there's more than one.
I don't know. There's one where like the thing is like a little tic tac and it's like moving like this, and then all of a sudden it goes underwater, comes back up, goes underwater. Mm-hmm. So we know these things are fast, right? Mm-hmm. They go in the air.
Jack.
Yeah, Jack's.
If you hear weird sounds, it's Jack.
So these things are fast. They go in the air, and at least some of them can go in the water.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're getting away from the topic though. We're really just trying to talk about the portals and the psionic aspect of it. Like the where and how, if they go through a doorway, what are these doorways? And what do they have to do with psychics?
Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying the doorway can be probably anywhere. It's probably underground. It's probably in the water.
Well, getting back to our theme though, could you believe it now? The idea is basically that we're talking about today is that psychics can open portals or reach in through portals and bring things in with them. Okay? This is the belief here that we are challenging today.
Okay.
So where do you stand on that?
Psychics can open up portals and bring stuff in and out of those.
Mm-hmm. And maybe even travel through them themselves. I don't know.
I don't know. Now that you say it like that, I don't know if I am on board with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the framing. Maybe we need new words for...
Well, we'll see. I have a certain frame that I've put it in, which is definitely an indigenous lens. And then when we bring it through this lens, we'll see how you feel about it.
I'm at black holes are real.
Well, yeah, we
portals
have a picture of them.
may be based off that. That's where I'm going.
But a black hole... Excuse me. A black hole technically is a portal. Your front door is technically a portal.
Okay.
But do we have portal entries that are like around us right here?
I just don't know if we have enough evidence for a psychic to be like, oh yeah, it's right over here. And then, I'm going to throw this bag of Cheetos through it, and then it's going to go. Yeah,
I think that's what people think, too. Like, there was that YouTuber. I do not remember the name of the YouTuber, but... Is it a YouTuber? Yeah. He supposedly was posting these YouTube videos of how he was able to open a portal up in his home, and he had stuff, like, dropping through randomly, but a lot of people are like, okay, he just edited that. He's just a really good editor, and a lot of people didn't believe it, but then he suddenly stopped posting. No one knows where he went. Yeah, I don't know. Do what you will with that. But I think that's the idea, that you can just like go through it and you disappear. I don't know. So I'll say where I stand on it is, I don't know. I don't know. But there is something I do like, again, I'm always going to lean more towards the indigenous beliefs and cultures because that's fascinating to me and that's what I like. But there's something about it that I feel like, I don't know how much like they all would understand it, but something happens in certain locations. To me, I'm seeing portals as like, there are some locations on Earth where there's heightened activity. And there's certain people that seem to have heightened activity, and that there is some type of correlation between certain people having more experiences and seemingly attracting this stuff, and certain locations doing that too. And then if you combine them, now what happens? I think there's something to it. I've done the research. So.
You have done the research. Yes. I just sit here and look.
Okay. Well, let me get into it then. So portals and psionics. So we went out to the Land Hill Heritage Site. It's also called see if I can pronounce it properly, Tempe Poap Trail, which means rock writing. in the Southern Paiute language, according to the internet.
Not rock art.
Not rock art, rock writing. And writing is communication. So,
I mean, sometimes it's an art, but I won't go there. That's another podcast.
but it's still communicating something deeper.
Communion.
Mm-hmm.
Willie
There you
Streeter,
go.
buy it.
See, there you go. Okay. So this is situated in southern Utah along the Santa Clara River. And according to the indigenous communities around here, it is a sacred site. And that's why there's petroglyphs there. Their ancestors marked the sacred site with the petroglyphs. And the petroglyphs mean specific things. And I did my best to figure out what they mean. But something interesting that I found this video on YouTube that it was a presentation by Autumn Gillard from Cedar City, who is a Paiute descendant. And she was talking about some information about the culture, but something really interesting and how I got there is she was giving a presentation on, where was it? I have it. Oh, okay. On ancestral Puebloans and Paiute as astronomers and scientists of their times. And so talking about the idea that the petroglyphs are more than just like, oh yeah, you can find water here, or oh yeah, this was that time I saw that weird looking animal right here. That it goes even deeper into a scientific world of tracking the stars and constellations as they move through the seasons. And there's a lot of agricultural information that, okay, you should plant this type of plant in this location during this time of the season when this constellation's over here. And like they tracked so much through astronomy and the land. And that's how they grew their food. And like they had these really like scientific methods that links to the stars. And it's really intricate and really interesting. Now, I could not get deep information because there's a very good reason for this. They intentionally keep the information and a lot of their practices closed to protect them, to protect themselves and to protect the information, because we have a really gross history here of people that weren't from here coming in and trying to mess them up on purpose. And the more the settlers knew about the culture and the rituals and the practices, the better able they were to disrupt them. So over time, they've learned they don't share it. Yeah. If you're not in their tribe, they're not going to share it with you. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. It's kind of like, I feel like I operate that way too. Like after you've had someone mess with you a little bit, no, you keep that news, keep things quiet, keep it to yourself. I'm like, I'm not going to tell anyone how I'm moving. They can see it later, because it just gives people an opportunity to mess you up if that's what they want to do. Oh, it makes sense to me. So, because I kept finding, I'm like, it's kind of difficult. Like, I can't get clear answers on this. Why? By design. I respect it. It makes sense to me. So it's private knowledge. And they have certain rules too, and this is part of, again, just preserving their culture so it doesn't get erased, is like they have certain times of year when they can share certain stories. And she specifically said, if you happen to hear a story about a Paiute constellation, do not share it outside of wintertime, because those are only to be told during the winter. I thought that was really interesting.
So these are just like told in person?
I actually don't know. She doesn't say.
We don't know.
We don't say. It's not for us to know. It's not our business, basically. It's not relevant to us because we are not Paiute. We are not part of those tribes.
Right.
So it's not any information that we need to know.
I'm just thinking of if it's like on YouTube and you're watching it like not in the springtime or something.
Sure, there might be some people that don't abide by that, which is why she said, if you do happen to hear this, please don't share outside of, yeah. But it's to preserve the culture. And it makes a lot of sense to me. So, but she just kind of went into that there's deeper information there, and we don't need to know it. It's not our business, so mind your beeswax. But to also understand and respect that these aren't just pictures. These aren't just pretty drawings, and oh, look what these ancient people that were so primitive, look what they did. Oh, they're so smart. That's cute. Like, that's really belittling. And her point is that no, they were brilliant, and they had a really intricate and intelligent system based off of their keen observations of the world and the environment and their connection to the land. So that was pretty cool. Now, getting into how that relates to portals and UFOs. They were very spiritual, okay? And they would have spiritual rituals that that rituals, like practices that they followed all the time, and that also were in correlation to certain areas, certain landmarks, certain times of the year, also tracking with moon cycles, constellation cycles. Like, they paid attention to so many things, way beyond what I could possibly understand. They paid attention to all of that, and then they would use petroglyphs partly as a way to communicate when these events should be occurring. So yeah, with agriculture, like, oh yeah, plant this plant at this time of the year, but also like perform this ritual in this location at this time of day, or when this constellation peaks over the horizon or dips just below, that's when you start, that's when you stop, things like that. And that those symbols have very distinct information that like only those tribes people would be able to understand. Which is why when white people came to this area, this land, and they looked up and they didn't understand it, and they're like, oh, it must be cool, pretty pictures, and oh, that's close, yeah, that's a foot, but you had too many toes on that foot. Okay, so there's one petroglyph in particular that has 7 toes. It's like footprints. There's 2 feet, but they have 7 toes. So like things like that. Like, as someone coming from that Western society, you look at it, and like the closest we can get to it is like, oh, it looks like a little kid did some art. Don't do that.
I just think it's interesting. It just kind of seems like they have like a collective consciousness. You know, those
indigenous
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know shit about my great grandparents. So you know what I mean? Like, it seems like in these tribes they have like a collective, like, hey, this is what this is. This is what that is. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know? Or like, so, I couldn't tell you what information my ancestors.
No. Well, we got cut off. What you're talking about is they have really rich oral traditions, which, from what I've read, there's some researchers and some historians that actually find the oral traditions to be far more accurate than written records. And a lot of people try to criticize. I love this. I don't know who said this. It might have been like Graham Hancock or something. I don't remember where I read it, but they were like, okay, a lot of people's Western ideology, reductionist, materialist people's criticism of an oral history is, oh, well, it could be changed. Anyone could just say anything.
You have that bro voice.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that.
Could be changed. Could be changed.
I just usually hear it from a white guy. It's usually the person saying it to me. That's all. Like, that's my imitation of a white guy. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. Tell white guys to stop saying that stuff to me.
You're not wrong.
All right. So I understand the criticism. Like, oh, it's like a game of telephone. Like, anyone could have heard it, kind of funny. And then, but you're saying that from a severely lacking understanding of what an oral tradition is. And also, writing, anyone could have written something down. Anyone could have written something down too. Writing could be just as changed and altered as an oral tradition.
Can I interrupt?
It's called redaction, actually, and there's many counts of intentional redaction of historical and religious texts by various groups and leaders and religious institutions, specifically to change the record.
The thing that's coming to mind right now, which I'm sure other people have thought about if they're still listening, is what about like telephone, you know?
The game of telephone?
Yeah.
That's what I was just talking about. This happens a lot. Remember back in the first episode that hopefully you just watched before this one? Rob complained that it takes me 3 hours to explain things to him, and I was like, I only take 3 hours if 3 hours is needed.
It's like when I go to formulate a sentence, she already like said the 2 sentences, 2 of her last sentences.
Wasn't listening. It's because
This
While you were
episode
listening
brought
to
you by-
respond rather than listening to understand me, and the minute that you thought of something you wanted to say, you stopped listening. It's a very normal thing.
I don't really know how to
That's
formulate
true.
thoughts while listening.
You don't. You don't, because then you wouldn't be listening.
So if I'm listening, then I'm going to be sitting here at you for a while.
Uh-huh.
Are you okay with that?
You listen, process, then respond.
I feel like I don't process a lot.
I feel that way too.
I feel like we shouldn't do the cameras anymore.
No, it's going in there.
In the blooper section in the back where no one reads?
I think this is critical to the understanding of the show and our dynamic. I think it needs to be, I think the people need to see it.
I don't...
Mostly because
What a year.
it proves me right
What
and
a
I told
year
you so.
2025 is right now. We got this.
Wait, if you want to be in charge of what goes in or out of the podcast, you go to school and get a degree in photography and videography.
Is that what your degree is in?
My minor. And then writing, journalism. In hindsight, I wouldn't have done it that way.
Okay, where are we at now? So telephone, you said, boom.
Right. To say it's like a game of telephones because you're basing it off of that fun game that we played as kids where you whisper something quickly and you can only say it one time into someone's ear and then it gets passed around and then you see how jumbled and messed up it gets by the end. That is that. That is not an oral tradition. Oral traditions are very intense, very like the cultures have very specific people that get picked out to be responsible for handing down the oral tradition, to be the storytellers. And storytelling isn't making up a story. That's another Western idea. Like the way we define storytelling is, oh, you make up something fun and it's entertaining and it's to help a kid fall asleep at night, right? Storytelling in the context of an oral tradition from an indigenous culture is the recording of history. It's the recording of knowledge and the passing on of very vital information for survival, for thriving, for religious, cultural, spiritual significance. It's not, oh, that's such a cute little story, right? That's what reductionism does. It reduces it down, but it's so much bigger than that. So the way the oral traditions work, per my research, is they have these really intense like trainings that they go through, that they developed a really intense system for passing on the information. And there's very specific people that take on the responsibility in the tribe or within the culture to be the storyteller, to be the one that's going to pass it down. And they have to tell it in very rigid and specific ways. What those ways are, I mean, that's going to be specific to a tribe and a culture. It's not the same across all indigenous cultures around the world, but it's still something that they all tend to have in common is it's a very intense thing. And then they will watch like children growing up, like as people are growing up in the tribe, like who is demonstrating the qualities to be able to handle it. And then that's how they pick who the next one will be.
It's definitely not the guy who doesn't process information after it's communicated.
Probably not. That's okay. We all serve our function and purpose. Someone's got to go out and collect berries.
Don't you do that. You're a berry collector.
I'll spat the water out of it. Don't look at me. Back to portals and the petroglyphs. There is a lot of beliefs, and again, this is based off of the limited research I'm able to find online. At some point, I would really love to actually interview someone if they are willing and wanting to share this information. But also, we all need to respect that if we're not in the tribe, we don't get to know.
Okay.
So,
no problem.
I won't push too much on that, but if there is someone out there that does want to share some information, or if there's something that would be more useful for us to know, to be more respectful and to have a deeper understanding, let me know. I would love to talk to you. But from what I can find, there are specific petroglyphs that record where a particular sighting or spiritual event may have occurred. And so part of the belief is that nature is alive. Like land, it's alive. Like it's conscious, it's sentient. Okay. It sees you, it talks to you. You might not hear it, but they do. Which my personal belief is I do believe this. Plants talk. That'll be for another episode, but they talk. And there's research on it, so we'll get there. But the idea is that land is alive, it's conscious, and certain locations might be a little bit more conscious than other locations or have more energy there. And so there might be a bigger interaction that might occur based on where you are. You might have heard this referred to as the veil is thinner.
Okay.
And that's based off the idea that we have the material world and then the spirit world, which isn't material, and maybe an immaterial world, and that there's a veil that blocks, so we can't really interact, but that certain people are able to kind of cross through that veil, or there's certain locations where the veil is thin, or like on Halloween, All Hallows Eve, it's kind of based off the concept that on that day, at that time, the veil is thin, so spirits are able to come into our world.
Maybe. Okay, so what's next
That's
here?
what some of the beliefs are.
Right,
okay.
keep going.
So the portals, they would mark areas where they saw stuff. And a lot of some of the myth, beliefs, lore, whatever you want to call it, I prefer to base it off of beliefs just because, again, those oral traditions are pretty intense, pretty strong. So if they're saying, no, this happened, I believe that it happened. But they're saying that their ancestors would mark areas where like they saw weird shit going on. Like, oh yeah, some dude came out of that craft and he had 7 toes. And that's why they drew 7 toes. They weren't being stupid. They're like, no, I saw someone with 7 toes.
I mean, that's what I would do. No phones, whatever. Just
yeah, right?
write down the 7-toed man visited.
Be like, watch out, don't freak out. There's a 7-toed thing here. I'm like really reducing it down to be able to communicate this quickly, but it's pretty cool. So now there are a lot of other common, I'm looking at my notes now, common motifs and their interpretations. Animal figures, it's depictions of bighorn sheep and other animals. They can be seen as symbols of sustenance, spiritual guides, clan totems, reflecting the deep connection between people and the natural world. We have anthropomorphic figures, that's human-like figures, sometimes adorned with horns, headdresses, and are interpreted representing spiritual beings, shamans, or ancestral figures, indicating the spiritual ceremonial aspects of the culture. There's geometric patterns, spirals, grids, and other geometric designs are thought to symbolize concepts such as migration paths, water sources, or cosmological elements, serving as maps or guides for both physical and spiritual journeys. And then you have solar and astronomical symbols. Certain petroglyphs align with solar events, such as solstices, suggesting their use in ChatGPT, help me with this. Calendrical. I did it. Or ceremonial context, reflecting the importance of celestial bodies in agriculture and spiritual practices. So that's pretty cool. Now, there is a specific word, it's called, that we saw. I think we saw it when we went to the heritage site. It's called a sipapu, and I'm very sorry if I'm saying this wrong, I probably am. But it's thought of as a sacred portal or a small hole or opening that connects this world with the lower worlds, previous worlds, and the spirit realms. And this was, I think it's a Paiute term. Or
it does look familiar,
Hopi
yeah.
term. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw it. There's going to be footage, so that's what that was. And it's thought to represent a gateway through which ancestors emerged into the present world after surviving cataclysms where they went underground. So there's a lot of beliefs that their ancestors, there were these cataclysmic events that were happening with the environment, and in order for them to survive, they went underground. But a lot of them believe that beings came up from the ground and brought them down there. And so they've marked areas where they saw this happening. And there's also, in the Hopi, some of the Hopi stories, there's sky beings that came and got them, and then there's ground beings, and sometimes they're called ant people. So some locations that are thought to be these portals is Mount Shasta in California. Mm-hmm. There's Shiprock in New Mexico. The Sedona vortexes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we've heard of that. Bear Butte in South Dakota.
Bear butt.
It's definitely Butte.
You're beautiful.
This is a very sacred and important site. Do not make fun of it.
Oh, please cut that out. Please cut that out.
And the Four Corners region. Now, we live in a very interesting area where there seems to be possibly one of these portals. It's at very least considered sacred. It's a sacred site. It's a very spiritual location.
Mm-hmm.
The petroglyphs communicate that.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. Now, I could go on about this for a very, very long time.
She could. Hours.
And I'm probably going to want to revisit this at some point. We'll do another episode on it. But now I want to get into the psionic part. Okay. Now, psionics, psychics, or psionic assets. That's referring to a person that has an extrasensory ability, a paranormal ability, a parapsychological ability, where they seem to be able to interact with a realm that the material world doesn't really understand, that science hasn't quite figured out as far as we know. Maybe they figured it out and they're just not telling us. I don't know. But something that is involved within psionics is telepathy, remote viewing, psychokinesis, it's like moving objects with your mind, energy healing, clairvoyance, clairaudience, or all the clairs, there's several of them, and mind-activated technology or travel, which is the one that they're working on with Skywatcher, and or supposedly what the government is interested in, is operating technology with the brain. Which was pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I don't know how that works, but it's pretty cool.
I don't know.
So, the idea, though, and this goes back to the indigenous cultures, too. They have similar beliefs that, yeah, there's some people that can really, really do this. And they were, like, spiritual leaders within their communities. They might have been shamans. I think mostly they would have been thought of as shamans. And again, this is going to vary from culture to culture, and a lot of these cultures do keep it closed and private, so exactly what it is I don't know, but shaman seems to be the word that I was able to pick out as being shared.
Sounds right.
It's a basic
people
concept.
Know what that is.
Yeah.
I
So
feel like generally people know what that
yeah.
is. Kind of like a healer or like a...
Yeah, it's someone that has these extra abilities. Now, in our world, the society that I grew up in, we're told that's not real. That's a myth. That's lore. It's not real. No one actually has those abilities. No. And if they do, no, they don't. If they do, they're a grifter. They're lying. They're a trickster. And listen, I know tricksters exist. They do. And I know there's some pretty intense psychological things and tricks that people can pull that'll seem like, ooh, it's psychic ability. But I kind of have to... There's a point, though, at which... Whoopsies. There's a point, though, at which... we call it a psychological trick when we understand how it works. We call it magic when we don't understand how it works. So how much of these psychological magician tricks is psychic ability? Actually is. We just won't think of it that way because we can track how it works. And if we did scientifically find a way to explain this type of psionic phenomenon, will we no longer think of it as psychic because we associate the term psychic with magic?
I'm processing.
Okay. Did you hear it? Do I need to say it again?
I heard it. Okay. It's just you're just waiting for a
I see why you interrupt now. We have to be nice. He does have the ADHDs. I do too. I just have the other kind.
I guess we do need a new name for this.
They're real good with facts and information kind.
Okay, all right. I don't need to respond. It's fine.
Opposite ends of that spectrum. That's all I'm pointing out.
respond.
Okay, no respond then. I'll keep going. Okay. So the idea is that some of these shamans, these people that have these extra abilities, are able to open portals with their minds and travel through them. Some believe to be able to actually physically go through them. Some of them it's in dreams they go and visit, or in like these meditative spiritual states they go through them. Now, catching up to what's going on out in the desert with the Skywatcher team. They showed, if you watch, they have part 1 and part 2 out right now, and their whole thing is that they're going out, they have equipment, they have cameras, and they have these psionic assets, these psychics who are calling in these crafts, and they're catching it on video. They're using other devices to monitor and collect data to understand what's going on, and using a scientific process, and that they're trying to figure out ways that they can replicate it. And that's kind of the stage they're at right now. And that their point is that what they say they're going to do is, once they have the information, once they have footage and have some things figured out, they're going to put it out to the public pretty much as soon as they can, which is cool. And so far they seem to be doing that. I don't know. Do we fully believe it all? I don't know. Stay there. I don't know. Right? But what they've shown so far, what they showed in part 2, is they have the psionics, their psionic assets, are lying down on like these lounge chairs, and they look like they're in sleeping bags, and they're blindfolded, and what else? They look pretty comfy. They're just kind of chilling out.
They're in those like mummy sleeping bags with like, one of those like first class.
They're all like zipped up.
Eyewear thing, masks.
I'm guessing
on.
that was because it was cold at the time they were out
there. But I mean,
yeah. But the point is, they're going into a sensory deprivation environment. So at this point, I feel I need to disclose that I'm a little psionic. Rob is a little uncomfortable with me talking about it because people get weird about it. Yeah. I get it. We can come from a very materialistic, reductionist society, and you try to say you're psychic, and people are like, no. They don't take the time to figure out what that actually means. They don't understand it, so they just reject it. That's fine. But I've had my own bouts of psionic events, psychic events, which we'll probably have to go over sometime. Mostly mine's been precognitive dreams. Yeah. We've witnessed it. It's weird. It's weird. You don't have to believe any of it. You don't have to take my word for it. But they happened. He was a witness. Which is really why we're here today, actually. Why we're talking about this stuff. Because on more than one occasion, I'd have a dream. I'd wake up. I'd tell you about it. I'd tell my friends about it. Tell my family about it. I have a lot of really like weird, funny, crazy dreams. So I like to tell people like, oh, I had the funniest dream last night. And on more than one occasion, those dreams ended up happening.
She had a dream we got married.
I did.
She had a dream.
This was before we actually... Oh, battery's down. This was before we like kind of knew each other, but like we weren't like even friends at the time. It was weird. It was a very random dream, and I was like, ew, why did I dream that? It's weird. I don't even know this guy.
He's so gross.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that'll be for another time. Okay. But the reason I'm bringing this up right now is that I can explain a little bit about the process. I do understand like why they do that, and I had shared about this on my TikTok actually, and a few people expressed that they were disappointed in the Skywatcher Part 2 that they didn't explain what the psionics were doing. And I'll say this, yeah, I wish they would go into more detail too, but there are other like podcasts and social media videos of the assets talking more about it, so you can go find that information, but I can share some of it here. The first thing I want to say, if anyone's ever heard of Stephen Greer and a CE5, that's essentially what they're doing. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. But a CE5 is close encounter of the fifth kind. Yeah, CE5. So that means basically you see something in the sky that you contacted mentally. So how that works is they basically go into a sensory deprivation environment, and this is like a really deep meditative state. And this is where they say, Stephen Greer says this a lot of other people say it too. He just kind of like popularized the term, but anyone can do it. You don't have to be psychic. Anyone can do it. It's just someone that has psychic abilities who's going to be kind of better at it. Yeah. It's like that concept I say, like You have vocal cords, you can technically sing. Should you?
Maybe, maybe not.
But anyone could learn to sing for the most part. Like if you got the vocal cords, they work, you could probably learn to sing. Are some people just naturally really good at it? Yeah. You know? Like I can go play basketball. I'm not gonna be that good at it. I could do it. I'll eventually get the ball through the hoop. Might take me a while.
You'd be like, with your nails, you'd be like...
Yeah, well, I'm a psychic. Beat that. Okay. So, but part of the process, just like if you're going to go out and play basketball, you should probably put on some sneakers and you need a basketball. To get into this state, sensory deprivation can be really helpful. But it's really just like, that's why if you're going to sit down and meditate, most people, you get comfy and you close your eyes. It's because that can help you quiet down your mind and your environment. So it helps if you're in a quiet environment. So that's why I think they even have headphones on. So they're having quiet. They're closing their eyes so they're not getting so much sensory input because it keeps your mind really busy, which is distracting if you're trying to get to this other space. But they essentially sit down and they just meditate and they get to a really deep state where they are able to clear their mind. And then from that point is when they're able to now say, okay, I want to make contact with whatever. I don't know exactly how they're doing that. They would have to share that. I just know that when I've had certain experiences, I can kind of sit down, get into a deep meditative state and be like, hey, let's contact so-and-so who's passed away. And then that's like a medium-based experience. That's something I've done. So the sensory deprivation aspect of it, though, makes it a little easier to understand what you're seeing. And for me, I have visual. I got the visual synesthesia, so I'll get visuals with my eyes closed and I'll display on my eyelids basically. But I have done the sensory deprivation tank before where you float in the water. Yeah, and there's no sound. I've done it twice and there's no sound. There's absolutely no light. And then you're floating in this body temp water, salt water. So you float and you kind of start to disassociate with your body. You kind of can't feel it anymore. And I have my eyes open. All right. And I didn't even know it, but I was spinning around in the water because I eventually slammed into the side of the wall of the space. And then, but I was seeing full blown things. So at the time, this was long before I knew all this about myself. I was like, oh, I'm hallucinating. Cool. That's what I thought it was. Completely sober, didn't take anything.
Oh, I'm weird. Cool.
Purely just in a sensory deprivation. But I thought oh, everyone must have this experience. And then I come out and talk to people and they're like,
you're like, is this pot water? What did I just drink?
Completely sober. I'm like, oh yeah, there was colors, there was music. I was just spinning around and without even trying. Again, a story for another time. But essentially, it can heighten these other things that maybe your brain is picking up on. And so that's why they do that. And that's kind of how they do it. And then in that space is where they go to then try to make contact with whatever's out there. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
So now from that space, they're saying that they are able to look for crafts, look for these UFOs, UAP, and they're able to talk to them. They're even able to possibly take remote control of the crafts and fly them. And there's reports that they can land them. I don't know. I have never tried to do any of that, by the way. I feel no, we'll leave that to the experts. There's also a lot of controversy that perhaps it's not ethical because it's maybe you're interfering with them somehow. And a lot of people do not like that they call it summoning because they think that's disrespectful.
I mean, that would be incredible if
it should be an invitation.
I've never seen anything like that before.
I don't know. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see what they put out. Yeah. But that said, the idea of portals and psionic assets is a really old concept. Once again, it goes really far back into all these indigenous cultures. And also, if you've been watching The Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, they're doing data, or they're collecting data, and they've supposedly been able to trigger an opening of a portal. And they even have imagery from I don't even know what it is.
It's
Like
almost like a
electromagnetic, like
electromagnetic topographical type
imaging, where they're
image.
using this like type of sonar, or I don't know what it is. Sometimes I don't
I
see.
think
I don't
I
have
think
the.
it's
I don't.
lidar. I think they're
It's
using
lidar.
lidar
They have a few things. We've seen the show.
to map out like the energy fields that are coming up out of the
Yeah.
ground.
And what's interesting about it is the pictures almost look like a swirling cone,
It looks like a
which kind of
beanstalk
match
going
some
up
of these.
to like the whole
Yeah, it kind of looks like some of the petroglyphs.
through the clouds
So.
and stuff. Pretty weird.
I think that's cool. To me, the reason I like to go back into history and look at this stuff is to see how long have people been talking about this. Because I think we tend to see it and it gets like presented to us as if this is a brand new thing, a brand new concept, but it turns out now it's actually really, really old. To me, that gives it more credibility. But I want to hear from you now. Could you believe it now?
I feel like I'm a little more believable. I feel like I got a little better, but I still don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I gotta watch this Jake Barber guy a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
hear that.
control, because like I don't know, control with my mind. Like maybe,
Okay.
maybe quite a claim.
We'll say this. Based off of what you know, they don't know yet. We'll have to share in another episode. But what you've seen happen with me, how does it make you feel about this concept when you put it through that context?
Potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I feel like that's, in general, no, I don't understand this full concept, and I'm not just going to believe what these guys are saying. But because of my own experiences, it definitely opens me up more to the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, give a lot of credibility to indigenous beliefs and knowledge because there's a lot going on there.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Right. So I guess we'll see you next time.
Yeah. It was
And
pretty
then
good. I got 1% battery left, so we're going to have to wrap this up.
We're gonna have to wrap it up. This is our second episode of Would You, Could You?
But next time on Would You, Could You Believe It Now?
We will be talking about Bigfoot.
No.
Nessie.
No. We're going to talk about
Easter
mantis.
Bunny.
No, mantis beings.
Mantis beings.
And the ant people.
Ant-Man. There's a reason.
Ant people.
Okay.
It's gonna be cool. There we go.
And that's it. Doo-doo.